Well, it's sad to report that the community of Ferguson, Missouri, is holding its breath as Officer Travis Brown continues to fight for his life after suffering a brain injury Friday night during a protest outside of the Ferguson, Missouri Police Department 10 years since the death of Michael Brown. This morning, very early this morning in the 6 a.m. hour, we talked to McGraw-Milhaven. He is a talk show host over on KTRS Radio in St. Louis, longtime friend and always willing to hop on the show. He was a host in St. Louis during the Michael Brown fiasco and situation. And he joined me this morning and he gave us the latest update on where things stand over there right now and what's happening and what the reaction has been on that side of the state.
Some people couch it was the 10th anniversary of Michael Brown being shot. The more accurate way is to portray is that was the 10-year anniversary that Michael Brown attacked a police officer. That is not my opinion. That is not my political ideology. That is the facts based on what Bob McCullough had, the grand jury had, Eric Holder had, and recently we elected a African-American county prosecutor named Wesley Bell, who, by the way, just beat Cori Bush in that primary. All four of those entities looked at all of the facts and came to the same conclusion that Michael Brown attacked Darren Wilson. So Friday was a contentious day here in town because while some people were trying to portray Michael Brown as a gentle giant, the facts tell other stories. Like he beat up the convenience store guy on Friday night. Remember, he beat up that same and robbed that same store Saturday, and that then led to the altercation. So they're having a protest, a peaceful protest in Ferguson, led by his father, Michael Brown Sr., and about, 40, 50 other people. And at some point, and we don't know exactly what happened, but it turned violent. We don't know if it was the peaceful protesters from earlier in the day. We don't know who came, but the police in Ferguson, which are under a dissent decree from the federal government, put up barriers around the police headquarters and allowed them to peacefully protest, created a space for them. In fact, allowed them to protest right in the middle of the street, blocking traffic. But again, once the sun went down, and I know this is a long answer, but once the sun went down, some people, I don't know, hidden by the peaceful protesters or another group came in, tried to take down a fence, a barrier around the police station, and that's when this young police officer, from all indications, became a police officer because he wanted to be an agent of change for the African-American community, was pushed or shoved or some altercation happened. He fell back, hit his head, and now he's fighting for his life.
And by the way, this police officer is a young black male himself. Maybe not young, but he's certainly not an old guy on the police force. And now he is fighting for his life. And if you haven't heard the police chief in Ferguson, he was absolutely amazing. I saw him over the weekend, and he did a press conference, and he laid it out there to the community. Chief Doyle, he said enough is enough. He slammed activists. He called them out. He said, we have done, for the most part, everything that's been asked of us within reason, and now we've got one of our own fighting for their lives.
My team got out there and was assaulted by a number of the protesters that were out there on the scene. As a result, one of my police officers suffered a severe brain injury. He is at an area hospital right now, fighting for his life. And I'm going to break away a little bit from what I was planning to talk about. This police department, this Ferguson Police Department, since 2014, has been a punching bag for this community. The police department back in 2014, we don't even have them officers here anymore. So what are you protesting? These officers not even here no more. Everything that the activist community has advocated for, as far as body-worn cameras, implicit bias training, crisis intervention training, all this stuff. We have done all of this. What are we protesting? What is it? We even changed the uniforms at this police department because people said that the old uniforms trigger people. What are we doing? 10 years later, I got an officer fighting for his life. It's enough, and I'm done with it. We're not doing it here in Ferguson. Our community is united behind us. Our community is fed up. We want to heal. Our community want to heal. We want people to peacefully protest, but we damn sure ain't going to allow you to destroy this city, and we ain't going to allow you to hurt none of these police officers.
How about a big amen for Troy Doyle? My goodness, that was beautifully said from the police chief in Ferguson, Missouri over the weekend. After on the 10-year anniversary of Michael Brown getting shot, he has the now situation where he has to deal with an officer of his own fighting for his life. An officer who joined the force to try to help heal that community. Because protests on the 10th anniversary of Michael Brown being shot end up going haywire after the sun sets, which is always how it happens, isn't it? And good on Doyle. I mean, he said, we've done most things that have been asked here. But of course, it's never enough for the professional protesting community because they're full of it for the most part. The race hustlers, the grifters, here's the thing. If they ever admitted that, things are in a much better spot now and we should all try to unite and come together and support our police, not blindly, but just generally speaking, support our police and back the blue and try to heal this community. If they ever took that approach, well, guess what? You wouldn't need them anymore. That's the thing about these grifters and race hustlers. If they admit to progress, if they admit to improvement, especially vast improvement and vast progress, well, their shtick's over. They don't have a gig anymore. So, whether it's no-name activists in Ferguson or it's folks like Reverend Al Sharpton.
Show some RESPICT.
They've got to keep the game going. They've got to keep the grift going because it keeps them relevant. It gives them meaning. It gives them purpose. If Al Sharpton ever said, geez, of course we've come a long way from, 50, 60 years ago. Of course, race relations have dramatically improved in this country. What's the use of them, John? And that's part of the problem. And that's why you have situations like this unfolding the way they do in Ferguson.
Well, in 50, 60 years ago, it was a little bit short-sighted. It goes back even further in that sense. They started seemingly improving, or we were focusing on this in the 60s, trying to make it better coming out of the 50s. So we've worked towards progress up to a point, and suddenly someone got elected and everything went backward.
Well, yes. I mean, there's no doubt that you look at the data and you look at the polling. People feel like since Barack Obama got elected, race relations have not gotten better. And that's not to say that electing a black man made race relations worse. That's not the point. The point is Barack Obama had this incredible opportunity to be the great unifier, to say, look at how far this country has come, that I am here in the White House as the first black man. But harken back to his approach and his reaction after Michael Brown. It was very divisive, despite the fact that his own DOJ, led by Eric Holder, came to the fact-based conclusion that Michael Brown was attacking a police officer. But in many ways, everything that's happened in the country since then, George Floyd and thereafter, has been reactionary and has stemmed from Michael Brown 10 years ago this past Friday, and now we've got potentially more tragedy in the wake of that situation Friday night in St. Louis.